Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renasant Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and we are broadcasting from inside Renasant Bank in beautiful Alpharetta. And if you're looking for a bank that is not going to embarrass you by coming up in the new headlines on Monday morning, and I think you know what I mean by that if you've been following the financial news this year with several big bank failures. If you're looking for a bank that's big enough to handle pretty much any need you can throw at them, but small enough to do it in a personal way, it's a place where people like answer their own phone. Imagine that when you're talking about the way some of the mega banks work. Give Renasant a try. I think you'll be glad you did. Go to RenasantBank.com to learn more and check them out. Find one of their 200 local offices and give them a call. And I think you'll be delighted that you did. I have been delighted, and so have my clients. Renasant Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And with that build up to Renasant Bank, speaking of Renasant Bank, Chip Gjertsen is with us. Chip is with Renasant Bank. He's a SBA senior banker with Renasant. Chip, welcome.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So let's give everyone a little introduction to you and your work. How are you serving folks out there?
Well, John, we are a conduit for business owners to take their business and their ideas and their dreams to the next step. Mm. And we do it in a way that's engaged and personal, and we give them the best advice and a defined pathway for them to grow that we know of, and do it in a way that's engaging and personable and detailed.
Mm. And so I want to get into more of some of what you talked about in terms of how you do what you do, but in terms of the product, let's say, you're an SBA lender, so we're talking about Small Business Administration for those that don't know. First of all, talk about your interest in that area. I mean, you've been in banking a while. Why SBA lending? What do you enjoy about that work?
That's a great question. Starting out, I was working in downtown Atlanta in the 1990s, and worked for another bank, and it was a great opportunity for me there. And we had not done any business lending of any consequence since the Olympics down there in that local market. Mm. And I was able to do some things that heretofore had not happened in that market. And to this day, the first business loan I did and closed, that business is thriving and is a large part of downtown Atlanta.
Oh, wow. And this was an SBA loan?
This was not an SBA loan.
Oh, okay. But that got you, that whetted your appetite, huh?
That whetted my appetite. It took quite a while because I really didn't have a complete understanding what I was getting into. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it felt like the right thing to do. And post-Olympics, it was provided quite a lift to the district or fairly popular district where the business is located. Mm.
Yeah, it's terrific to drive by and see the part you played, I guess, then reflect on that, right?
Yes. When you see people lined up outside the door of the facility downtown, and here it is in 2023, it's 26 years later.
Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, for sure. So why SBA loans for you? You got into SBA lending when?
Started in 2001.
Okay. So you've been at it a minute or two.
And came into it almost from the side as a result of some opportunities that were created as a result of some mergers inside the bank I was working for.
Gotcha.
And it just went from there. Mm-hmm. So I've been exposed to quite a bit in the SBA universe, but also have the retail banking experience, wholesale banking experience, private banking experience, and commercial banking experience. But SBA provides a unique challenge and opportunity every time you pick up the phone or meet somebody or answer an email inquiry. Everybody you speak to is going to be different. It's not like commercial lending where you pretty much have a wash, rinse, repeat kind of cycle with your existing clients and borrowers, because for the most part, they're established businesses. Whereas in SBA lending, you have some established businesses, but well more than 50% are going to be new businesses or businesses that are less than 5 years old.
Got it. So you it sounds like to me you get some satisfaction in really helping from that first loan on, even though that wasn't an SBA loan. You get some real satisfaction from helping take businesses that are early in their maturity, take them to the next level.
That's absolutely correct. And it's very satisfying.
Yeah.
And we try to look at this from a complete circle in a holistic way. You know, what's the best route for this business to grow? Have they considered everything? Are they going in the right direction? Do they have the right team of advisors? Are they receiving the appropriate level of service that they need, not only at their bank, but from their CPA, their legal advisor, engineers, whomever they're working with?
Sure.
And it calls on everything that you know, everything that I know about business and people. And it really comes down to that. It is a people oriented pursuit to get these across the finish, get these borrowers to the finish line that where they want to be.
Folks, over here chatting with Chip Gjertsen. Chip is a SBA senior banker at Renasant Bank. So Chip, let's do some basic definition for those that really maybe you've heard the term or maybe they haven't, but need to have some basic grounding into what we're talking about. So just describe what an SBA loan is and how it gets made, because how it gets made really helps the borrower understand what's going on behind the curtain, right?
Right.
So
going back, the SBA was started in the 1950s, and it's positioned as a way for a bank to take on additional risk to help a non-traditional business borrower who needs access to capital, doesn't have the traditional financial history, business history, or assets to pledge against a bank loan. So the bank, any bank, and it's the same at any bank or a financial institution, decides to make a loan based on the business owner's application, what kind of collateral they offer, and what their outcome looks like. And the SBA provides the bank an additional layer of security in making the loan to the business. So let's just use this for an example. Say we have a business that needs $1 million for acquisition of a building and needs some equipment, maybe some working capital to expand. They've been paying rent on a lease for a long time, say 5+ years, and they've decided to make the transition from renting their own space to owning their own space for whatever reason it might be. So if we had a purchase price of $1 million on a particular commercial property that the business owner was satisfied with, is going to take and look at owning for a long period of time, the SBA lending path provides some different opportunities to leverage their capital. Number one is a lower down payment or equity injection. Two, the term of the loan is going to be much longer than a traditional bank loan, which usually ends at 5 years for most banks in the United States. Then you have to essentially renew that particular loan. So you have an opportunity for the business owner to buy into their own property, start accumulating equity in that property, growing the balance sheet of their business, and building wealth.
So what we're really talking about at its base is these are loans that the bank wouldn't make otherwise, really. I mean, or if they did, the terms might be a lot more onerous than they are with an SBA loan.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is essentially outside the credit box,
right,
or profile that a bank would generally consider being comfortable with.
Sure. And so the whole intent behind this is for newer businesses that don't have the same kind of history, that don't have the same established lending relationships that big companies do.
Correct.
Yeah. So let's talk about the I guess some of the basics of when a company should consider an SBA loan, or someone that's even starting a business should consider an SBA loan, because I'm assuming that that's an option if you're starting a business as well.
It is an option. The startup financing is an option. It is more difficult to attain and to be approved in,
just because you don't have a history.
Correct.
Okay.
And there are additional hurdles related to that. For example, if somebody was had a background in medical equipment design and technology, we'd have a hard time if they decided to go into mushroom farming. I mean, let's just be candid.
Yeah. Well, you might have a hard time with anybody in mushroom farming, give away some of these mushrooms are. But anyway, that's another subject, Chip. You make me laugh. That's funny. Yeah, so I get that. Yeah, so you've got to have a demonstrated history in industry, and you're going to have to probably bring some of your own assets to make it easier.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it at least needs to rhyme with what you're doing.
There you go.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
And we're going to roll a lot of the responsibility for understanding how that business could succeed to our partners at the University of Georgia Small Business Development Centers that are across the state.
All right.
I mean, there's one right here in Alpharetta, Georgia State. Well, at the Georgia State campus, there's one over in Kennesaw. There's one in Lawrenceville. That's part of the UGA team in Lawrenceville. I believe there's, I think there's 19.
Yeah, they're all over the place, and they're not. I mean, we've had guests from SBDC here in the studio, and the biggest problem with SBDC is it's not used enough. That's the biggest problem.
They're an absolute gem to work with.
They are.
The experience of the individuals that are teamed in with the SBDC is extraordinary.
Yeah.
They have, most of them are well into their business careers. They've decided to stop and change course for whatever reason. They all have advanced degrees in one area or another, and they understand what it takes to provide rational projections via industry data that they have access to that is just generally not available because it's mostly subscription based.
Right. Right.
So it provides us as a lender, and it should provide the prospective business owner or borrower a level of comfort and understanding. Hey, this is something we can do, or hey, I need to rethink this.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're a new business and you have not taken advantage of SBDC, go check them out. I want to kind of pivot if we can toward existing businesses and their use of SBA loans. And there have been some recent policy guideline changes that you've pointed to that you think are significant that business owners should be aware of. Talk about those.
Will do. So the SBA has a operating guideline. It's called the SOP, and it's just like any other business operations plan. Mm-hmm. It's full of legal language, all kinds of you may not, cannot, do not types of guidelines in them. However, over the last, say, several years, there's been a real hue and cry to reduce this and streamline this and add some brevity to the process. And just recently, in April, at the beginning of May, the SBA has rolled out a long-awaited revision to the standard operating procedure policies. And as I said prior to us starting the conversation, they've dropped the number of pages in the document by a third, which is that's all right for a government entity.
Yeah, I was going to say that's going the other way relative to most government entities.
Usually it's the other direction,
right?
So we've got an agency that is acknowledging the fact that it plays a significant role in the advancement of business in the United States, growing business, new business, and existing businesses. And with an emphasis here in the last several years in the conversation has been had in the press and probably in boardrooms and wherever people get together and speak about business is how are we going to bring back what's left our shores over the last 40 years?
Sure.
And this is part of it. Mm-hmm. And we can make as a bank and any bank that is participating in this or credit union or whomever is a lender that uses the SBA program, they can make a difference for the overall business health and wealth of our nation.
Yeah.
This is a very positive change, and there's, of course, discord among some regulatory agencies, and there's been some arguments back and forth in the Congress and the oversight groups that are part of this.
All right.
And there's always going to be disagreement. Mm-hmm. But it is progress, and it's not progress for the sake of progress. It is meaningful.
Well, one of the pretty meaningful pieces of this that you and I were talking about before we came on the air is the acquisition and sale of businesses. So talk about the changes that have been made there that you see are very significant for businesses that are looking and business owners that are looking to transition.
Can do. So previously, the SBA's operating policy for business acquisitions, ownership transitions was an all or nothing language. This was, if you had a business you wanted to sell, it was all of it. You can sell part of it and retain an ownership stake in it. Mm-hmm. And this was literally handcuffing privately held businesses because generally you don't have access. These businesses don't have access to private equity funding or non-standard type lending. So if, for example, I'll use the same example I used prior to us coming on the air. Say if you have a plumbing business that's been in the family for 2 generations. Mm-hmm. So you have the founder, husband and wife, and you have an aunt and uncle who are part of the ownership team. And then you have the owner's son and daughter who are part of the ownership team. And you have six individuals who have joined together and are working as a group, ownership group, and they're doing well. However, as people age out, and this specifically speaks to the boomer generation, there's an opportunity, people change. And there are times when certain parties need to exit or desire to exit for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And this change in the policies via the SBA would allow, say, the aunt and uncle to exit, sell their stake in the business to the remaining 4 partners. Whereas previously it was an all or nothing.
Yeah. And so to extend that example, so aunt and uncle own, let's say, 15% of a business, then the business itself can get an SBA loan to buy their interest back, right?
Correct.
Or individual owners of the business can also get an SBA loan potentially. Again, credit issues that have to
possible
get cleared. Yeah, but they could take an SBA loan in order to buy that interest,
to buy that percentage of the business entity.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big deal from relative to what was possible before.
Correct.
Yeah. So the using SBA loans in exit planning, exit transition has got the field has suddenly widened significantly in terms of what options business owners have.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And it should transmit into a change in the velocity of ownership changes.
Right.
If you follow me correctly.
Yeah.
That will be good.
Yeah, because we've got a whole backlog, it seems like, of businesses that, are owned by baby boomers that have not sold, that we've been waiting on for years to sell, right?
For whatever reason.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. They keep holding, and there's all these predictions about the baby boomers going to sell their businesses, and they still don't do it.
Right. My CPA said this. My aunt and uncle said this.
Yeah.
And, my neighbor says that.
Yeah.
But this maybe clears the field for individuals to have another option.
Right.
Or another option to exit in a way that previously was not available.
Yeah. And it's not just family members. So again, as we were talking before we came on the air, we're talking about employees, right? Key employees that want to stay with the business and buy the business, or a group of employees. Maybe.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it could even be somebody from outside the business wanting to say, I really like what's going on here.
Yeah.
I'd like to buy into the business. Mm-hmm. And I can afford to buy 15% of the business. Mm-hmm. Previously, that wasn't on the table. Yeah, like I said earlier, it was an all or nothing event.
Yeah.
And this is going to allow individuals and families liquidity, and it's going to allow access or egress into a business where previously it was not available.
So how are the underwriting, if any difference, how are the underwriting standards of those kind of loans different than other SBA loans? Are they the same?
It's pretty much the same.
Got it.
I mean, there would be, going back to the medical technology and the mushrooms kind of thing, it would be helpful that the individual approaching the table to buy a portion of the business had some understanding of it.
Sure.
That generally that makes the banker more comfortable in presenting it to for approval.
Right. That always helps. Right. And the SBA, I would assume they care too.
Once we approve it, if we're a preferred lender.
Okay.
It's pretty much done.
Okay.
But yes, if there ever was any kind of difficulty or dilemma with the existing business and the loan was in question as to whether it was performing or not, and the SBA was called to the table, and if you'd done something incorrectly, like I said, going back to the disparate pursuits, that question would be raised.
Yeah.
Why did you individuals decide that this was the appropriate decision to make for this borrower?
Got it. Okay. You mentioned Renasant being a preferred lender. What does that mean? And what's the advantage to SBA loan borrowers that hear that term?
Without getting into the details, it just provides a more streamlined process. If you're not a preferred lender, then you not only have to approve it internally as a credit request, then it would then go to the SBA. So there's a secondary layer of approval.
Got it. So it makes the whole process a little speedier
And there's just less delay all the way through.
Right.
You're essentially adding a 2 to 3 week window onto the back end of the approval process.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the types of businesses that are fits for you in terms of what you're looking at. Describe, do you have particular industries, sizes? What are you looking at?
There really aren't any. There are few restrictions on what we can look at. There are some, and we could talk chapter and verse about those, but we don't have time to do that. But the general profile would be an operating company that is a service provider, a professional skills provider, a manufacturer. It could be anything that falls within that realm that has had a successful track record financially, and the owner is desiring to continue to grow and has an idea or has a desire to move into a different arena. I'll give you an example right now. So we have a borrower approach us several months ago that has worked in a specialty construction area that has been doing very well for 15 years. And after some consideration, they've decided to expand their product offering. And it's going to require a significant amount of equipment, to both stationary and moving equipment, to provide that service. And those are the types of borrowers that are of real interest to any kind of lender that does SBA lending. And the equipment could be computer equipment. It could be concrete mixers. It could be landscaping equipment. It could be any number of things. But as long as there is a track record in an existing business that's providing a service that shows growth and profitability, understands their market, and has a desire to continue to expand, we want to talk to them.
Got it. So let's talk about maybe a success story that illustrates the great work you're doing at Renasant. Chip, you don't have to mention names, of course, but just describe a situation that's illustrative of your talent.
We'll use something from the last 6 months. And we'll go back to the business acquisition side.
Okay.
So, and this is prior to the change, but this illustrates what can be done. So we have a business that has 4 partners in it, 2 majority partners and 2 minority partners. The 2 minority partners wanted to sell their share back to the majority partners. So the majority partners held 40%, and the minority partners each, mind you, and the minority partners each held 10%. So they wanted to, each one of those individuals wanted to sell their 10% share back to the majority partner. And we were able to execute on that from the first time we sat down and spoke to the time we went to the closing table was just over 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And there was some, this is an out-of-state, you had out-of-state individuals,
right,
and multiple pieces of collateral involved, and we were able to execute on that within 2 months.
And I assume private company with valuations that have to be done and that kind of thing. Yeah, correct. So that takes some time. And the valuation,
and that's another part of the process that we should mention, is that if we do have a business approach us for sale or acquisition, we're going to do an external valuation done by a third-party CPA firm on the business that's in question.
Okay.
To get an understanding, a clear, unadulterated understanding of what the business is valued at.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can work into that number.
Got it. So, Chip, as we wind down here, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask why Renasant. I mean, there are a lot of banks out there that do SBA lending. This is not unique to Renasant. I mean, there are thousands of banks that do it. Why Renasant from your perspective?
Well, the bank in and of itself is unique in the niche it works within. Mm-hmm. It is it's by definition a large bank, but each area operates independently as a community bank. Mm-hmm. And inside the bank, the SBA our SBA team is part of a different group inside the bank, and we have considerable autonomy. Mm. And each one of the business units across the bank refers in business to us across a 5-state footprint. Mm. And it works. It works well because we have individuals in each market who have been there for usually more than 10 years, and they know who their customer is, and they know what's going on in their community, and they're accessible. And that makes a huge difference for us if we receive somebody who is a referral from an internal banking partner, mm-hmm. and they say, I've banked these folks for 8 years, and here's where they started, and here's where they are now, and they think they need to talk to you. That makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and what you're saying in a nice way that I'll be more explicit about is that when you have that relationship on the front end of the bank, it's a whole lot easier as opposed to the kind of the mega bank experience where you really don't have a relationship with someone on the front lines of the bank, or that maybe that person is you just don't have that same sort of relationship. It makes it easier to access the rest of the bank and people like you. That's what you're saying, I think, in a way, and people come recommended.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah,
that is true.
Yeah,
and most of the individuals that we have that are associates in our firm, our bank, mm-hmm. are long-term members of the community they work in.
Right.
It just makes it easier all the way around when you're looking to do something for a business, and they have some type of track record. And they don't have to necessarily work with the bank. We're always welcome to individuals or businesses that are external to us. But the internal referral track mm-hmm. that we have is priceless.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Great work here. Chip Gjertsen. Folks, Chip is an SBA senior banker, senior vice president with Renasant Bank. Chip, this has been terrific. Lots of great information, and I'm sure there's a lot more that you could share for folks that are interested in getting in touch. So let's give them directions on how they can do that.
Easiest way to reach me is just direct office line, 678-226-7534. And if I'm not in the office, it'll roll directly to my voicemail, and I'll get a ring on my cell phone or my email, and I can call you back.
Terrific.
So just leave a message, and we'll get back to you.
Terrific. Chip Gjertsen with Renasant Bank. Chip, thank you so much for stopping in.
John, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, folks, just a quick reminder. If you are tired of the dysfunction in your back office, you're spending too much time on administrative tasks, your bookkeeping consists of a Nike shoebox and a bunch of receipts, and you really need to get those financials together because Chip wants to see them, right, for that loan you're looking for. Well, I've got a solution. It involves picking up the phone and calling my friend Essie Escobedo over at Office Angels, 770-442-9246. they do not just administrative tasks and bookkeeping, but they do marketing and prepare presentations and do social media work. They've got a lot of different talents in their team of angels that SE can pick out that talent that you need and have that person fly in, get the job done, and fly out. If you'd like to know more, go to officeangels.us or just give Essie a call again at 770-442-9246. And I know what I'm talking about because I use their services, and they're fantastic. And a quick reminder that I've got a book coming out later this year in 2023. It's called The Price and Value Journey, Raising Your Confidence, Your Value, and Your Prices Using the Generosity Mindset Method. It is for folks that have trouble with their pricing. So if that describes you, go to pricevaluejourney.com. You can sign up to receive updates on that when that book comes out, and find other resources there as well. And a big thank you to our listeners. We are coming up on show number 700. We have that in our sights, probably in a few months from now. And we've only gotten this far because of you. We've been just celebrated our 7th anniversary here at Renasant Bank, actually, and had a great time. And we're excited about that work, but we're particularly excited about your support because that's how we keep going in doing the work that we do. So continue please to share the show, support the show in on social media. We're North Fulton BRX on all the major social media channels, so look us up there. And just a big thank you to the North Fulton community and beyond that continues to support us as we seek to be the voice of business in this region. So for my guest, Chip Gjertsen, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.